Hello everyone. Greetings from IE Global. My name is Anna Ryzhova. I am regulated Canadian immigration consultant and today we are going to discuss a very important topic, which is the current changes and regulations in post-graduation work permit applications amid the changes in the method of studies, which is now online, as it is very important for us that you know what to expect and what the regulations are for you as a student in Canada. Let's start with the presentation. I will share the information on the current changes and proceedings which are in place at the Immigration Service Canada. I will be also available right after the webinar is over, and will do my best to reply all the inquiries we will get from you. The main and significant change which have been made by Immigration Service for international students is that it is now possible for international students to pursue up to 50% of studies online, and not only in Canada, but also outside of the country. Before, it was not possible, or it was possible, but the students were not qualified for post-graduation work permit. Amid the outbreak of COVID-19, the changes have been made, and this rule is now in place. Let's discuss today what other conditions are in place and how to meet the eligibility requirements to get the post-graduation work permit upon completion of your studies. Before we move to post-graduation work permit regulations, I would like to remind you what makes you an eligible student in Canada. First of all, you should be registered at the designated learning institution. The list of them is given on the website of the Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada. In the website of the Immigration Service, you will also be able to check whether the program in which you are going to study or in which you are studying right now is eligible for post-graduation work permit. Next requirement for you to be considered as a student in Canada is your full-time student status, which is confirmed by the study permit. You should have the study permit in hand, or it can be also replaced by the approval from Immigration Service to study. The difference is that the approval to study is issued when you apply for the study permit in your country of residence and with your passport back from the embassy, or without the passport. If you apply from visa exempt country, you get the letter which states that the decision was made and you are approved to study in Canada. When you enter Canada, you get the study permit itself. So to be eligible for studies, you should be in possession of one of those documents. For those who already started the studies in Canada, I would like to remind that it is also important to maintain your student status. What does it mean? In order to be qualified for the post-graduation work permit, you should prove that you actively pursued your studies during the validity of your study permit. So if you decided to change the institution where you study, you have to inform the Immigration Service about it. You shouldn't change your study permit, but you have to inform accordingly that you change the DLI institution. It can be done online, or you can call to the Immigration Service, and please do it before you apply for post-graduation work permit. What does it mean to actively pursue your studies, and how to maintain your student status in Canada? First of all, you have to study without breaks unless these breaks are authorized by the college or institution. For example, it could be just the regular breaks in between the semesters when the students have holidays and they don't study. Usually, it is the situation for the universities when you have the summer term off, so you don't study during the summer semester. For most of the colleges, the semesters they go one by one. So you should be sure that your authorized leave from studies doesn't exceed 150 days to be eligible to maintain your status as the student and to be eligible to obtain your post-graduation work permit afterwards. What are the possible reasons for you to defer your studies for the next semester and up to 150 days? They could be medical reasons like your health condition or pregnancy, for example, the family emergency or death or serious illness of the family member. There could be other reasons authorized by your institution. If you're in a position that you have to change the schools or there is the strike and you cannot pursue your studies, sometimes it happens in Canada, or if there is just a decision made to defer your studies for the next semester, please remember that you have just 150 days for that. Otherwise, you have to be registered as the full-time student. There is one exception for the last semester. For example, during your studies, you didn't cover one of the courses or maybe two courses, or you failed them, and you have to take one additional term, and it will not be full-time but part-time. This is also considered by the immigration service that you didn't have the significant breaks and actively pursued your studies. Please also remember that when you complete your studies in Canada, you should check whether you are still in status, because in order to apply for post-graduation work permit and in order to maintain your status as the student, you have just 90 days. After, even if your study permit is still valid, when you finished your studies, you just have 90 days either to apply for post-graduation work permit and be in implied status as a worker, or to extend your study permit if you are going to study in the next academic program in Canada. You can also switch to the visitor status if you want, if you don't want to study anymore, if for some reason you do not apply for post-graduation work permit, maybe you applied for it before, and then decided to keep studying in Canada in another program. So those situations are possible. Just remember to maintain your status. That's the most important thing here. Or you can choose to leave Canada, because the recent change has been made in the regulations that you can also apply for post-graduation work permit being outside of Canada. Next, we will discuss the how you can be eligible for post-graduation work permit. So first of all, as I mentioned before, the program in which you study should be eligible for post-graduation work permit. And again, it's not the rule for all the programs eligible for studies. So double check it before you start to study or before you apply for post-graduation work permit. After the graduation, you have to apply within 180 days. And please remember that graduation is not the same as with convocation, as convocation usually takes place maybe 2 or 3 months after the actual graduation. Your graduation is the date when your marks are finalized and you receive the completion letter of studies or the final transcripts where the date of graduation is clearly written. And if you apply 180 days after that date, unfortunately, your application will be rejected. As I told before, you should be in status in Canada if you apply from Canada. It can be student status, or it can be visitor status, or you should apply outside of Canada. If you stay in Canada and apply for post-graduation work permit, as soon as you apply, you already have the right for full-time employment. And it's a big advantage for a lot of students. The next eligibility requirement is very new. It only became possible due to COVID-19 outbreak. A lot of institutions, they went online, so the immigration service had to adapt somehow the requirements to the international students. Right now, you are eligible to take up to 50% of your studies in Canada online, and not only in Canada. So you can stay in your country and study when it's when the studies are available online from your country. And it will not influence the duration of post-graduation work permit you are going to obtain. But remember that it is only possible for those who study in the current year. If you take the online semester in spring, the one which has been already started in May, or you are going to study online in September, the studies during those 2 semesters would be counted and would be eligible for post-graduation work permit. For January 2021 intake, we are not sure yet which requirements and eligibility criteria will be in place. But so far, the international students have the opportunity to start their studies online or to keep their studies online in May. Intake, yes, spring semester, and September intake, which is fall semester. What duration of post-graduation work permit you can expect? If you study in Canada for 2 academic semesters, the validity of your post-graduation work permit can be in the range of from 8 months to 1 year. It depends on the final decision of the officer who takes your papers in hands. If you studied are going to study for 3 academic semesters, you will get the post-graduation work permit valid for 12 months. And if you study 4 academic semesters, which is in most cases 16 months, you will be eligible for the up to 3 years work permit in Canada. Let's consider different scenarios in which you currently may find yourself. The first situation is you are in Canada and you are a valid study permit holder. Whether you are eligible to study, yes, if you still maintain your status as the student. Whether you are eligible for post-graduation work permit, yes. Even if you take the May and September intakes online, semesters, yeah, spring and fall semesters. But remember that in order to get the post-graduation work permit, only 50% of your studies should be done online. So, for example, if you're studying in the 1-year post-graduation program, which is 2 semesters in duration, and you already had May intake online, then probably to be on the safe side of the road, you should defer the studies in fall intake till January, and then when everyone comes back to the classes, you will be able to keep your studies and to obtain the post-graduation work permit at the end. If you are outside of Canada but already got the study permit authorization or approval letter, you are eligible to start your studies. If you haven't done yet so in May, you are welcome to do it in September. You will be eligible for post-graduation work permit. And again, remember that these online studies shouldn't exceed 50% of the total duration of your studies in Canada. What to do if you are in Canada without the authorization to study? So far, it was not allowed to students to pursue the academic studies which which duration exceeds 6 months without study permit. Currently, we do not have any news from Immigration Service or updates what to do in case when a lot of applications for study permits are being delayed. So far, there are no instructions whether those students who started their studies will be allowed to apply for post-graduation work permit when it's completed. So to be on the safe side of the road, I advise you to apply for study permit as soon as you can. The Immigration Service announced that they would put the students on priority, and we hope that everyone who wants to start the studies will be able to do that in September. If you are outside of Canada without the authorization to study, yes, you can start your studies if the college or university lets you do that. Because again, the majority of public colleges, universities, they will not allow you to register for the courses without the approval letter from Immigration Service or a study permit. Again, there are no instructions yet whether in that case you could be eligible for post-graduation work permit. So our strong advice, it's the beginning of June, so you have like about 10 weeks to get the decision from the Immigration Service, and it's very likely that you will have the reply from them before September intake. So please apply, and we hope that you will be able to start your studies in the fall. Another complication of the position when you start your studies without the authorization, without the approval letter, without the study permit, is that the most colleges and universities, they do not issue refunds for any reasons happened after 2 weeks of the semester start date. And like it could be the very sad situation when your study permit is refused. You already invested your time and money in studies, and you just have to stop it on the middle of the road. The next situation is when you switch from one program to another in Canada. Yes, you can keep your studies even if your file is under consideration, and you, for example, by September wouldn't get the extended study permit. You will be in employed status, but don't forget to apply. In order to maintain your ability to study, you have to apply on time. It means that by the end of the duration of the study permit, initial study permit issued, if you miss the deadline, unfortunately, you will find yourself in the position of losing your student status. You will still be able to restore it, but you will not be able to study during the process of restoration. For those who are ready to apply for post-graduation work permit, in here, I mean those students for whom the last semester was the winter one. So they already graduated in April. Those who are on the way to the completion of the studies in August, you will be eligible for post-graduation work permit if you had your part of the winter semester online and maybe May semester online. In order to apply for post-graduation work permit, you will have to receive the official letter from the institution, which will confirm the length of the study program in hours or month, and a final transcript with the date of the graduation or completion letter of studies. The application for post-graduation work permit is quite straightforward. If you didn't have any breaks in studies, and if you met all the graduation criteria, you will likely to get one. I hope I covered all possible scenarios for the students in Canada. If not, or if you have some questions to ask, You are very welcome to do that. I will try to come back online after the presentation is over. If not, you are still welcome to write all your questions, and I will answer them within the following hour. In case you watch the recording of the webinar, please contact one of your regional advisors at IE, and they will address your questions to me, and I will be happy to assist you to find the answer to a question and the solution to your situation. Remember, we are here to help you, to support our students. Stay safe, stay positive. Thank you for your attention, and you're welcome with your questions. Bye.